Welcome, everyone. Konrad's news segment of the week, where we're going to be talking about tariffs, executive orders, more executive orders. This is the president of executive orders, as well as the Middle East trip. Get ready, buckle in, and enjoy. Starting off, the reciprocal tariffs have been rolled back for 90 days between the United States and China. Right now, it is set to a tariff amount of 30%. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the meeting between the country's leaders held in Geneva had negotiation talks such as non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital. Interesting point to this. Again, Scott Bessent said that China admitted to not following through on any trade agreements once former President Joe Biden took office, which I thought was a very provocative thing to say. President Trump has recently signed an executive order where the U.S. government pays the price for prescription drugs equal to the amount paid by other countries for their lowest prices. Americans have been notoriously paying higher prices for prescription drugs than other people in other countries. As an example, diabetic medication Jardiance, I believe I'm saying that right, here in the United States is $611 for a 30-day supply. The same medication in Japan is $30. This also allows RFK to work with the pharmaceutical companies on finding a permanent solution in this. Controversy surrounding President Trump's acceptance of the Air Force One Boeing 747. Is it a gift? Is it a present? Are presidents allowed to accept gifts from other countries? It has stirred up a lot of controversy. President Trump for years has complained about the quality of the Air Force One Boeing being outdated, to which Boeing was supposed to deliver 2 planes to the president or past presidents, but has been plagued by delays and has yet to deliver on that, and it's even now has been delayed for many more years. Trump has come out to say that he plans after his presidency, if he is able to even use this plane, the plane that the Qatari government is supposed to give to President Trump isn't supposed to be finished and available for President Trump to use until the end of his presidency. And President Trump has said that even if he does use it at the end of his term, he will not be using it and be donating it to the library in Washington, D.C. Lastly, about Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, he spent the past couple of days in the Middle East visiting various countries and leaders. Notably, during one of his speeches yesterday, this is Tuesday, I'll add that this was Tuesday that this speech came out. In Saudi Arabia, Trump announced that he would be ending sanctions placed on the country of Syria with the quote, "Show us something special." This has been met with great relief for the Syrians who have been under economic and political strife for over 40 years, where these sanctions have been in place to hold down the economy of Syria. Lastly, Governor of California, Gavin Newsome, has asked California cities and counties to clear homeless encampments. This is coupled with the newly passed bill/voter-approved tax funds to expand housing and treatment options for homeless residents. That is all for the news. What does everyone think about it? Any topic that anybody wants to speak about?
I'm going to hit the bathroom before, but you guys start it.
Oh man, those are some bombs to drop. One of the things that I was very in the first Trump presidency, I was approached by some people here in Austin to help build cyber defense teams in other countries. And I was very fascinated by those policies, because Trump effectively said people are coming to America because they want opportunity and they want jobs, because those jobs are opportunity and that's growth. But what we've been donating money to, so we'll donate money to Argentina and say you need to have a robust cyber defense because China's going to come after you, or some other country's going to come after you, and they're going to get intelligence from you, and they're going to get other things from you. We're going to donate, $45 million to the defense of your cyber, of your country. And then Argentina would just turn around and spend that with another country. So we would give Argentina, maybe not Argentina specifically, I'm using Argentina as a placeholder, but we would give money to Argentina, and Argentina would then spend the money in France or spend the money in another country. And he kind of said, why are we doing that? Why are we not spending money with the tag that it needs to be American people, training people in the country that they're going to be defending, and they're creating jobs there, and they're creating an economy there, which will give reason for people to not want to become illegal immigrants into America, because there will be a greater economy there and more opportunity in those countries. And it was really interesting to be part of this cyber initiative to defend these countries, and it was part of an economic initiative that Trump was doing in his first term. So, like, there's always a layer that people typically don't understand when pick your mainstream news source is saying something about something, but there's a reason. There's a domino effect of domino 1 feeds into domino 2, feeds into domino 3, feeds into domino 4, and sometimes the end result is better for everybody involved. It's really weird to look at some political policies and say, man, that's a really good political policy. Maybe I don't like the guy that's enacting the political policy, but the political policy itself is not bad. And how do we all grow from those things? So, the tariffs are certainly a hotly debated topic among everybody, because tariffs are not considered something that's beneficial. Typically, tariff wars have not been historically beneficial for countries, but at the same time, those countries are typically not the country that is the reserve currency, and it's not the country that's the providing debt and liquidity in both senses to the rest of the world. So that's all stuff way above my head. That's there's too many contracts behind closed doors with companies, behind closed doors with shell companies, that it gets so complicated. I just hope the end result is benefit for all of us.
I say that
agree.
all the time. It's like, I don't know the information that they have, to take decisions like that. So it's really hard to say. Only time will tell. It may be that for the short term, the next 10 years is bad, but, for the 11th year onwards, might be better. It might be good. I don't know, because only time really will tell.
And I think it all ties back in, Richard, to the podcast, which is, this is extrapolated from the Puff Drink Talk podcast. Tune into that, where we talk about data, technology, and energy, and I really think that energy is the hottest topic right now. The term, or the deal that Trump struck with Ukraine for mineral rights, and obviously American presence in Ukraine to kind of thwart or dismay Russia from encroaching more into Ukraine. That's a big deal. Obviously, we talked about Greenland, but then also, right now he's in the Middle East, and he just lifted all sanctions on Syria, which is, and again, I don't know about the landscape or the minerals or the resources that Syria has, but my assumption is that there's going to be some type of deal where, okay, we lifted these sanctions off of you and now we're going to be able to provide economic help to you. What type of help are you going to return to the American people to help you out in long term? All of this is all about creating jobs and putting money back into people's pockets, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of things that happen, and at the end of the day, Trump is a businessman. This is all just him trying to do business. He's now at a stage where he has a ton more power than a individual businessman has, but now he's going like, hey, we're going to cut a deal where now oil is coming from the Middle East cheaper. We're cutting a deal with Syria. We're lifting these sanctions, and I guarantee you there's going to be something in the next couple of weeks or months where a mineral rights deal is signed with the government of Syria. So we'll start mining and operating over there. I really think that this is all just about accumulation of resources and preparation of something or accumulation for, building the economy.
Yeah, and when we were in Afghanistan, one of the reasons that Russia was in Afghanistan, one of the reasons we were in Afghanistan, Afghanistan is a massively natural resource rich country.
Yep.
If you drill down, it doesn't matter where you are almost. You're going to find lapis lazuli, you're going to find oil, you're going to find rare earths. People forget that Afghanistan and China actually share a border. So there's a lot of overlapping natural resources. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on there. And we're going to be playing a natural resource game in some way, shape, or form. Whether that natural resources are rare earths that we need for advanced technologies, or it's going to be energy for oil or natural gas. Like nothing, even a Tesla car still uses oil. Right? You still have You still have to do. There's still petrochemicals and the plastics and the tires and all of those things. Like it's just because you went and made your energy be an electric vehicle doesn't mean that you get to cut out all the other things that you need that oil for.
Yeah, the proportion is electric, but in everything else it's oil based.
No, I agree.
I'm waiting for George.
I'm waiting for George too.
I think we all.
George always brings a different
we all think about
perspective.
Yeah, we all think about we all believe that we know a little bit of this economy or that, because we are always looking hindsight. Of course, oh yeah, I know what happens, but there's so many new variables. We know how to fight. We know how to fight something that already happened, but it's very hard to understand all the pieces, that is in place. So again, whatever I say here is going to be limited to the knowledge I have. One thing that I would call the attention is that he mentioned, like, okay, yeah, U.S. sends money to Argentina. Hey, you should, you're going to improve your economy and then you're going to stay there. But then you have the problem of population replacement at the same time. You need immigration. Man, the United States needs immigration. Right now, with the immigration, the way it is, and which is not as alarming as everyone thinks, because I was watching a movie, this movie from 2002, and then they say, yeah, there are 11 million illegal immigrants in this country. So that was 20-something years ago. There was 11 million. Now it's 13 million. So as the population grew, right? So if you keep up the math, we should have 20 million immigrations, not 11 million immigrations. Immigrants, right? The problem is not that. The problem is how they get to this country, And the United States is a predator. This is what they are. We are talking about surviving. The United States are predators, right? So we have the British were like that, the Chinese, the Indians, the Ottoman Empire, every single big empire. That's what America is. America is an empire. Cultural empire, financial empire, economical empire, right? So What do you expect? What do you expect a predator to do? So it is a quid pro quo that I don't like it because, I love this. I love to live here. but we have to think about it globally, right? And then this is why this repercussions. I was looking for a statement here made by one of the Marvel's characters with Ultron, which is the enemy, and says, yeah. So the villains create the Avengers. The Avengers create Ultron. Ultron and Ultimate create someone coming from a different place. So what I'm concerned now, it's the reaction of the other party as soon as they get to power. It's going to destabilize the whole country again, because there will be a strong pushback, especially for one of the most powerful brotherhoods in America, which is the healthy industry, right? So this is going to be super heavy talking about that, and I agree.
Yeah.
But it's going to lower the average earnings of everyone in this industry. And there will be a strong pushback.
But my point, and I completely agree with you, but it's a sad topic or a sad thing that we have to say that the pharmaceutical companies are going to directly take a hit by this policy because they have been overcharging Americans and for stuff that you can go to a different country and get cheaper.
Anybody knows the size of the economy in that spectrum?
Sector?
Yeah,
sector,
that sector.
The health.
It's billions and trillions of dollars
Trillions.
annually.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, one of the biggest salaries are people that work on that, field. And I know people that work on the very low level of that field, and then they don't really make enough money. But my
point is like to have the argument, and I mean I get it, is to say that a multi-trillion-dollar industry is going to have anger issues against something that they've been sucking the blood out of the essence of Americans for many years to come is such a shitty point to bring up, because it's like they're in wrong. They are completely in wrong. That same medicine that is sent off to other governments in other countries is so much cheaper, but when it's here in the United States, it is 10-fold, 20-fold, put in the multiplier. And for them now to be like pissed off because now we're, now the CEO is not going to get a $10 billion or a $10 million payout, their annual payout in commission for this year.
I'm glad that George mentioned the reaction, because that's what it is, right? It's the action and reaction and reaction and reaction, and it's just that, it's like.
Well, we have society, we have infrastructure here in America that doesn't exist anywhere else, which is medical insurance and the infrastructure of making medical insurance profitable, making the medical industry profitable. Another country is able to come in and say, we're the only payer, so give us 10,000 doses. We're going to buy 10,000 doses, and we're going to subsidize those prices. In the back end, we might not know, right? Norway might pay the exact same amount per dose that we pay. It's just that Norway has, single payer. They have a healthcare system. And we don't have that healthcare system. Our healthcare system is for profit. Literally, I did a shout out to him earlier. Dick Sanger. He worked at GlaxoSmithKline, and he was on the board there. My uncle was for a while, he was the most experienced pharmaceutical statistician in the world, and it takes hundreds of millions of dollars to take a new medication to market. You have to push it through the FDA. You have to go through all these testing. And these large companies are effectively waiting for smaller companies to get something approved and go through the system, and then they go and buy them, right? Mm-hmm. The research and development to bring a new drug to market is massive. And that research and development, typically, a lot of that happens here in America. So it's not that
it's the pinnacle over here.
We're paying for the creation of it, and then we're selling it to other countries. The other countries are getting it at a better deal because they're the only, like, if Japan says we're not going to buy that drug, it's not even going to exist in Japan. So they can have a better volume purchasing agreement than we have over here, because there is no volume purchasing agreement, and it's more of a negotiated agreement between the healthcare companies and the insurance and the taxpayer. It was on a Joe Rogan podcast, again, talking about how you can go in and ask for a cash pay.
Yeah.
And that the cash pay could actually be cheaper than your copay price. And I was like, all right, well, I needed to go get an MRI done. And I go in and I'm like, all right, so what's the cost of that MRI? Here's my insurance. And they're like, oh, the cost of the MRI is $4,200. And I'm like, all right, what's the cash pay price? And they look at me, $1,200. I'm like, wait, so with insurance, it's going to cost me $4,200 out of pocket. But if I just pay in cash straight up front, it's only $1,200. And they're like, yes.
I know that. I know exactly that, because I'm dealing with some crowns and, root canals. And then there's a limitation, in your dental plan, right? So I did exactly what you said. And you know what? The places even financed for me to pay in 12 installments, cheaper than what the auto insurance was.
Yeah.
So it took me a lot of hours, much less because, the Notebook LM helped me a lot with that. It saved me time. I wouldn't have done that without it.
But what did you do? What did you do, George?
It's just that, as you know, like each company offers different types of dental plans. We picked up the best, but it was, I think, because the dental insurance works different than from the health insurance, right? So there's a limitation for that. I can only spend $2,000-$3,000. But then, like when you start doing it, okay, it's only $450 here, $700 there. But then when an emergency comes, that's the problem, because, you see, you're already overspent, right? So then I had the pain, and with the pain, my friend, you pay whatever. I canceled my trip to Brazil because of that, because I had to spend this money, So I noticed that I have to negotiate,
Or you go to Brazil and do the treatment over there.
Yeah.
yeah, it's expensive. Brazil is number one in the world. I don't know if you know about dentistry. Brazil is number one in the world.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's
That tooth is fake.
it's
Got it done, but it's hung on. There's like a metal wire that's connected to the other teeth. And I know I have my teeth cleaned, and every time dental assistants or not orthodontist, but a dentist looks at it, and I go, no, don't touch it. And they look and they're like, I've never seen anything like this before in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen this.
Brazil
I
is a place
Brazil?
for health industry. There's a health tourism in Brazil. In our city, we have like 2 hospitals that are like boutique hospitals. People fly. Actually, it gets so expensive for us because so many people go there, and the best rooms, they are all occupied by someone from different states, richer states in Brazil, or again, if the hospital is so good. That's one of my points here about demand and and supply, right? So if you offer something premium, people start, I'll go to Brazil, all my food, all my trip, everything's going to be half the price. Why not, right?
Yep.
Why not? So this is also, more people probably won't travel abroad, and then you're going to have an increment in expenditure here in the U.S., right? So there are compensations. I mean, this is only one case. There are hundreds of other cases we could mention, right? But one thing that you mentioned before is that you said that, like the universities, the governments, they kind of curb or incentivize certain industries, right? And right now, we have 2 cases that came to my mind, which is the WNBA and the bats in Brazil, in which I know fantastic professionals are leaving other industries to go to the WNBA. Why? Because the business, it's tenfold. Now I think the revenue is going to be tenfold. So now someone who was making Caitlin Clark's salary, right, is $76,000 a year, right? So now the rookies next year are going to be 250, 4 times more. And so a lot of, but this is not the thing. The thing is about the professionals, like fitness, all these guys. Now they are competing, right, with the market. Now, the WNBA is paying $400,000 for a fitness coach. So they wouldn't go there, but now they are moving even from the NBA to the WNBA. In bets in Brazil, I know guys who are directors in top sports companies. They all went to the bets. The betting companies took control of Brazil. Absolutely control of everything you can imagine. So these guys are moving from other industries to the bet companies, the best brains. This is what America would do. They want the best brains here for so many other areas, right? We can go on and on this. I mean,
Yeah.
My teeth are AI. They're actually built in post production. It's all it's all photoshopped. These aren't real teeth.
Pearly white and absolutely stunning. Perfect.
Perfect.
The best
Perfect veneers.
the perfect teeth.
Yeah. Never seen that before.
They're the greatest.
The greatest.
Many have said they're the greatest.
The widest.
But one of the things
strongest.
that Richard mentioned on the podcast about the teacher being $3,000 and over here is more, that also reflects on the other industries, on the medical industry as well. Over here, a high level professor at a university and with tenured, right? It makes a good amount of money because that person achieved a level of excellency, right? In the field. You have to pay for that, right? So all the researches and the development and in the U.S. if you want it or not, in medicine is the pinnacle. Maybe not the dental medicine, because Brazil is really high advanced on that. But over here, if you want to be treated cancer, if you want to be treated on anything, you want to be over here. You don't want to be anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I've got a personal story. One of my coworkers, she's from India, but their first out-of-country job was up in Canada, and her husband went in. They were in British Columbia, and they went into. He was complaining about headaches, and they did a scan, and they thought that he had a brain tumor. So they were like, "Okay, when's the next follow-up appointment?" And they scheduled him out a year and a half in advance.
We have the same problem in our health system, right?
Yeah.
We call SUS, and it's the same thing. Like it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, for the resources we have, it's amazing.
There's
We
a
always
huge
have
line.
there are levels and
always a
levels
line.
for this. But we're gonna have to wait 2-3 years unless you know somebody, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then talking to my dad, we grew up in Washington, and he would say you would have hospitals packed with Canadians because they would either have to wait a year and a half, 2 years to get seen, or they could just come down to the United
Survival,
States,
my friend.
pay that money out of pocket to see a doctor, and then just go right back up.
Well, in Brazil, there was a story. My he already, unfortunately, already passed, and but he lived another 3 or 4 years after that. He was really bad. I think he had like I want to say it's a kidney sort of failure thing, and the hospital didn't want to take him in because it had a line, right, to get to. Like, no, we cannot see you. And then my cousin just called the right hand of the governor of the Paraná state, right, and then say, hey, can we make this happen for my for my uncle? And I said, yeah, sure. Is he there right now? Yeah, he's there right now. And then so he just make a phone call, and then they took him in. So it's who you know and whatnot. So situations like this, it's sad. For my uncle was good, but for other people that did not know, the governor of the state, you wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
I saw medical professionals in Germany when I was over there for a deployment, and they didn't. I'm like, I'm an American citizen. I'm here, and the doctors bring me in, and they see me, and they give me some drugs, and they prescribe me, and we work with stuff, but they didn't know how to take payment. They're like, oh yeah, I'm like, here's my card, and they're like, we don't process cards here. We don't get cash here. You're either in the system or you're not in the system, and we're just not even going to bother to process you because you're an American citizen. Like, here you go, right? Here's your stuff. Go get lost.
Now multiply that for 3 million immigrants, 5 million immigrants getting through the borders. That's tough.
Well, and to that point, Richard, do you see the effects of lowering prescription drug costs? Do you think that hospital visits, ultimately the cost for certain medicines and trips to the hospital will be cheaper because of it?
Maybe. I mean, that's that. To be honest, that's a field and an industry that I haven't like looked at the math on such things, so I don't want to opine on that. But it comes down to you got people that come into the hospital that they know they're not going to be able to pay, and somebody has to subsidize that cost for the hospitals to keep operating.
Right.
So like it's that domino effect. We want those resources to be available, so the people are coming here and spending the money and the resources to be seen.
Don't we have enough knowledge right now to have algorithms calculating this for us and projecting the future? 14 million possibilities. Which one is going to give me it would include the variables and would bring me okay, yes, I have more certainty that this, look at that. I'm not talking about precision, right? Say, hey, with all these variables, this path is the best path. Don't we have enough resources to do that?
Says a guy around a table, and we're all smoking cigars and drinking alcohol, yet we know alcohol and cigars is probably going to be bad for us.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just don't make the decision-making process, right? We have a really high healthcare cost in America because we make lots of really bad personal decisions, and we choose those bad decisions. I mean, if you compared the health of someone in Brazil versus the health of someone in America, the average health in Brazil is probably better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they have to walk more, they have to do more, they're more physically active, they're not doing a bunch of other things, they're not sitting around a table having a podcast, drinking cigar and smoking cigars.
And what they're eating is probably healthier too, not chock full of chemicals and preservatives.
Hey! My chemical bath milk in my chemically made cereal bowl.
My microplastic.
Yeah, microplastics.
And the more knowledge you have about that, the more you freak out. For example, I know that all my dishes I've been washing with all these chemicals. So I got this habit of look at that. Look how crazy this is. I spend time putting so the machine is washing everything for me, but every time I use a glass, every time I use any silverware, dishes, I always wash it first. Look at do you see what's going on there? I'm gonna gain some time by washing that, but I got so worried about what I read and what with the big data again. Then I go there. Okay, I'm gonna wash it. Okay, it's gonna cost me just a couple seconds, but those are a couple of seconds 100 times a day, and that's not only just 3 seconds. It's gonna be an hour.
Yep.
Microplastics are the conversation of our generation.
Yes.
But the conversation of the previous generations were the same. Like, we can talk about, people's cognitive function breaking down because of lead everywhere, asbestos, or, we learn. I mean, if my mom still has her Corelware plates that are coated with lead, and the parts per million lead on those plates is like 14,000. And if you ask Corel, they'll say you should make those like decorative dishes. You shouldn't eat off those anymore. The required parts the maximum parts per million should be like 50. Like we didn't know we did those things when we did those things. And it's
how about Teflon?
Yeah.
Oh
we learn, unfortunately, after the fact that we've done something that's bad for us. And we just have to make those decisions and make the best of it after the fact and react accordingly.
But my point is, do people who DuPont, for example, how much did they know while they were researching to sell the product? That's my problem. Margarine, how much did they know? Okay, this is gonna fuck up the population, but you know what? There's profit in there. Let's create a story and how there's lots of graphics starting in 71, 75 when the carbohydrates, there was a spike in carbohydrates. So people try to create correlations and causations. And there's so much information. Then that's why the big data drives me crazy, man. Drives me crazy. I just try to find the one that is going to harm me the least. That's what I'm trying to find. What's going to harm me the least? That's what I'm trying to use it. And I pay more for that.
But now you pay more for something that it might not be. Like in the future, they might find out, oh, that was not really that good. And now this is the newer gooder. Yeah. Right?
The newer. We should put that on a shirt. The newer gooder.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great slogan. Huh?
I like that. I like that. The newer gooder.
I created the gooder word with my daughters because I say, hey, there is the best, there's better than best, but there's also the gooder. And then
the good, the bad, and the ugly, kind of same thing. Yep. Great movie, El Bruto.
Yeah, and sometimes it's people or organizations, companies using science against us, right? The food industry is really rife with that, where we're calculating the exact fat to salt ratio to sugar ratio,
proteins, carbohydrates, fats.
Really gonna get you to come back and buy another burger and buy more fries and couple that with a corn syrup, soda. They're trying to make money to continue doing what they're doing, and in some ways, it's just a big game for everybody. What's the game you're trying to play is how do I be better and live longer and be healthier, and their game is how do I get more people to eat my food, to buy my product. And it's this constant ratio of give and take, and we have to figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's very difficult.
We have an old one of the shoe industry back in the early 1900s had X-ray machines that would fit you for the perfect shoe, but they didn't realize they were bathing you in X-rays to create that because they didn't quite understand how radiation worked.
Yeah,
and the people who were operating those machines were so horribly irradiated at the end, and they were just trying to be good shoe salesmen.
Yeah, they're just trying to provide the best service, to
How
get
about
you
a phone? Like you have to charge your phone 55 feet from where you sleep. Who does it? I'm exaggerating, but what I'm saying is that how many people just sleep with a phone 1-2 feet from you, and I don't know what's going on.
Just one phone. I've got 5 or 6.
Exactly.
Yeah, Richard. But in phones, the other thing is like you don't even need to plug a cable to recharge it, to just like touch it. Like on a radiation thing. That will transfer power to the battery.
No, eventually
microwaves are gonna kill you.
Yeah, they've got the entire desks now where everything is haptic charging and key charging, QI. There's just, we're all trying to make the lives better for everybody else, and whoops, sorry, didn't realize that did what it did. Oh, and that's are we sharing that information as quickly as we can? Not always.
Let's make our profit first, and then we'll tell everyone, like, hey, sorry.
It's for the gooder.
Yeah, it's for the gooder.
It's for the gooder.
It's for the gooder.
Well, gentlemen, we need to wrap up this Konrad's News segment of the week, so thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Again, stay tuned next week for more news by me.
By Konrad, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Subscribe.
Bye.
Subscribe.